Ringleader of the $250 million Minnesota welfare fraud scandal, telling Fox News she believes the state leaders knew taxpayer money was being stolen and did nothing to stop it.
But I guess, how high up do you think the message went that there was fraud? Like, do you think it made its way to the governor's office?
I struggle to believe it didn't. I have to believe that the governor's office and Keith Ellison's office were aware of this. They've said they were involved in helping the FBI. They've said they were made aware.
A spokesperson for the state attorney general responding, saying in part, quote, treating the words of a convicted fraudster like Aimee Bock as though they have any credibility is shocking. She is a liar, fraudster, and manipulator of the highest order who has never acknowledged or accepted her guilt.
Okay, let's turn to Minnesota. And of course, we've been seeing the anti-ICE riots. Anti-ICE protesters have been taken to the streets and then over the weekend storming a church. Vice President J.D. Vance is reportedly going to be visiting Minnesota on Thursday, but this is what Donald Trump had to say about the protests against ICE.
Screaming, shame, shame. You know, this is not people that are like living in Minnesota. These are professional, paid people. They're like actors. I mean, I watched the guy last night in the church. He was, and not just Don Lemon. Don Lemon's a loser. But I watched the guy last night in the church. This guy's a professional guy, and he actually admits to it. He gets paid a lot of money to go and cause trouble. And you see that. What they don't see is that ICE gets rid of murderers, drug dealers, Tren de Aragua, I mean, the worst gang in the world, anywhere in the world, MS-13, Tren. But these are the worst gangs, and they get rid of them. They take them out.
John, you're in Minnesota. Can you talk to us about what it's been like on the ground?
Well, it's been terrible, Gabriella. There have been constant conflicts between these so-called protesters who are actively interfering with ICE, trying to prevent them from being able to carry out their law enforcement function, and the ICE people who are getting no help at all from local law enforcement, no crowd control, no help at all. And meanwhile, our elected officials, starting with Governor Tim Walz, are encouraging and inciting these rioters to interfere with the enforcement of federal law, which of course is a crime. And so it's really a very tough situation here on the ground. And it was made worse, of course, by the incident in which Renee Good got shot as she was driving into an ICE agent.
Josh, I want to get your thoughts on this and also what role the media is playing. It's been revealed that ABC, NBC and CBS delivered 93% negative coverage on ICE. This is after the fatal shooting of Renee Good and according to a study from the Media Research Centre, but 93% negative coverage. I mean, that has to have such a big impact.
You know, it has a tremendous impact, Gabriella. I think the silver lining, though, is that it's not as tremendous an impact as it would have been as recently as just 10, 15 years ago. I mean, the Trump administration, to their great credit, I mean, back before there was Trump administration, there was the Trump-Vance campaign, they intuited quite presciently that the American media ecosystem today is not necessarily dominated by the big three networks of ABC, NBC, and CBS. In fact, if you look at the airtime that the Trump-Vance campaign gave to top 100, top 500 podcasts, YouTube shows, alternative media, digital media, they totally blew the Harris-Walz campaign out of the water. And Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, actually now has this whole alternative new media section in the press conferences there. So they're very astute and very tuned into that. Having said that, obviously, I mean, that the number is not particularly helpful. You know, these analogies to ICE are just so utterly astounding to me. I mean, putting on my legal cap as a lawyer here, ICE is just a law enforcement agency. It is just a federal law enforcement agency that is tasked with enforcing a specific body of federal law, that being immigration law. I mean, to that extent, though, it's really no different than the FBI. I mean, the FBI is also a federal law enforcement agency. There's any number of federal law enforcement agencies there. But, you know, when I hear these elected Democrats, Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, is a very good example. I was watching his press conference maybe about a week and a half ago where he was kind of summarizing his new lawsuits that the state of Minnesota and Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, they're suing DHS, they're suing ICE for ICE presence there. And his rhetoric was just totally striking to me, Gabrielle. He was saying it is our states' rights. It is our 10th Amendment issue. The federal government cannot belong here. And I found myself thinking, wow, I mean, do that in a thick Southern accent, like the states' rights, the federal government does not belong here. I mean, we're talking about the ghost of John C. Calhoun. We're talking about the ghost of the Confederacy. And frankly, the ghost of the Confederacy lives on. I mean, back then it was a Democrat insurrection that led to the Civil War. And frankly, these so-called sanctuary cities are actually just neo-Confederate bastion state. The solution back then, well, God willing, won't take actual conflict, but the legal solution is to establish the supremacy of federal law, which is already established part of Article 6 of the Constitution there. And thankfully, I think we have a commander-in-chief who understands that very important norm.